What is up, YouTube? My name is Evan, and this week I am bringing you a pretty cool deck. I took this deck to my local tournament, and I went completely undefeated until top two, where I ended up losing to Night March, and that can always be kind of a challenging matchup anyway. But I really wanted to bring something different. It was expanded format, and I decided to bring Mega Mewtwo, its X form. And that's the one with the fighting energies in its attack cost, which a lot of people kind of wrote this off. I've heard a lot of people say, "Hey, well, it's just not good enough." Why? Well, because it has two energy types in it. I kind of feel like, well, but I mean, lots of Pokemon get used that have two energy types in its attack, and it's not like we don't have a lot of ways to color fix. And Smeargle's around too, and I didn't even use Smeargle. But anyway, this thing was incredibly successful. I went through a deck that relied on some Regices, and I just completely shot through it. I took out somebody who was running metal with Aegis Slashes. Nothing got in this thing's way. It's pretty awesome. I never had a problem powering it up. So we're running 3 Mega Mewtwo X. I did run 1 Mega Mewtwo Y form just as an alternate. It's kind of a surprise when you've got the other Mega Mewtwo in the deck as well. They don't always expect this one. But it runs so easily, especially if we're throwing energy onto things. It can be a great way to suddenly come out of nowhere and knock things out. So I went ahead and opted for that. I went for 3 Mewtwo EXs to support that instead of 4, because, like I say, the Y form is more of an alternate. I like the damage change on this Mewtwo EX, but the X Ball Mewtwo, since we're in expanded, is definitely just as good, if not maybe a little bit better, but I like this Mewtwo. And the thing that kind of makes this a unique build is the fact that it includes Victini EX, one of my favorite Pokemon from the Black-White era of cards, mainly because of its Turbo Energize, and just an excellent way to power up your Mewtwo X very quickly. Just go grab those 2 fightings from your deck, slap them on, and you're good to go. Not to mention the fact that we can also do it, with his Victory Piece, which is the ace spec in this deck, to not even have to waste time putting in energy onto Victini if we don't want to. And heck, one of the ways I just sniped an Aegislash on my first attacking turn by slapping a Victory Piece on Victini and intensifying burning it. I didn't have any special energies on. That was 200 damage, just an instant KO. So it was a pretty cool meta pick there too. I really, really like it with Mega Mewtwo X. And since we're running so many EXs, Hoopa EX just makes good sense to go get them. You can go get the Mega Mewtwo. You can go get things like one of our 2 Shaman EX, for example. This is just more draw power. It's all pretty obvious, pretty self-explanatory here. 2 Pokemon that we're running here, that are not so self-explanatory maybe. We're running 1 of this Sableye. I love this Sableye, and I had an incredible streak of luck with it. I used its attack 4 times during the tournament, and each time I flipped all 3 heads. It was incredible. Sableye needs to calm down. But I didn't even need that many flips each time, but it ended up being pretty nice. But usually 1 or 2 heads was all I needed anyway. But this guy can be a great way to power up kind of in the mid game and get a lot of energy really quickly onto what will soon become a Mega Mewtwo X. And I also ran just 1 Jirachi because he's just so good against any deck that relies on special energy, obviously. He can be very powerful, and of course it's nice to have non-EXs in the deck. As far as our supporters are concerned, we're running 4 Sycamore. You can also run Juniper. I'm just running Sycamore because they were easier to grab. I was in a hurry. And 2 Ends, just a nice control card there, of course. Card drawing. 1 Colress. We can easily fill our bench. We run Hoopa, we run Shaman, obviously. Lots of other decks like to fill the bench. We're running 2 copies of Skyla. This is just so incredibly useful. We got a number of 1-ofs that we want to capitalize on. Professor's Letter especially is a good target. But our Spirit Links can also be prime targets for our Skyla. We're running 1 Lysander for all the obvious reasons. And our final supporter is Zerosic. It can be pretty crucial for pulling off things like Headringer. And on its worst day, it still picks off double dragons, double colorless energies, things like that. So still always a good card to have. And speaking of 1-of supporters, we're running 4 Versus Seekers just to capitalize on all our supporters, make sure we're always firing them off, maximizing our utility there. We got 2 Battle Compressors, mainly because unless you're comboing this with Sableye, there's not really a reason to compress anything other than just a couple of your supporters. So we're only opting for the 2. And that worked out pretty darn well. We got 3 Ultra Balls, because obviously you can go grab Hoopa with this, and, you're pretty much good to go. Just the Hoopa is all you really need to grab. But, and this can also get you your Mega and stuff like that if you need to, if circumstances are different, or if you prize your Hoopa, that sort of thing. And grab you a shaman, your second shaman after Hoop is gone. We run 3 Spirit Links, 1 for each of our Mega Mewtwo X. Our stadium of choice, since our Mega Mewtwo X does need a stadium in play, is definitely going to be Dimension Valley. We don't have to cheapen the attack, really, but it is very handy that this can make it from a 4 energy attack into a 3 energy attack. And we run forward just to make sure we've got that stadium out. If our opponent replaces it with their own stadium, we don't really care because we can just slap 1 more energy on our Mega Mewtwo and we're good to go. Like I say, it's mainly just to make sure we have a stadium in play of some kind. We're also running Town Map. This can be so good. Just like I say, we run a number of one-ofs, and it's good for consistency. I've become a believer in Town Map recently. We're opting for Victory Piece. This is a good Skyla target, especially if we lead off with Victini EX. It's good for Victini any old time and can lead to surprise attacks mid-game or so, and your opponent thinks you're running low on energy. It can provide you with that 3 energy attack out of nowhere, that intensifying burn, and that can make a difference, especially if they sling weak to fire. We do have this one, Professor's Letter, because we run a number of different basic energy types, so it can be very utilitarian, very useful. Speaking of which, we have Super Rod, because we're not always going to want those energies in the discard pile for Sableye, obviously, so this is going to be a nice way to recycle them and our Mega Mewtwo's back in to make sure we can always build up what we need to build up to address the situation that our opponents created for us. And finally, we do have an energy retrieval. This is a nice one-of, because Super Rod is good for retrieving a more versatile array of things, Pokemon or energy, but sometimes you just need that energy right there in your hand right away, especially after one of your Mega Mewtwo's has gone down. This can get you the energy you need to get your next Pokemon up and going right away without having to overcomplicate it by putting it back in your deck and then drawing it and so on. So it is a pretty good card in this deck. I'm quite fond of it. As far as our energy goes, we're running 2 Fire Energy, obviously just for the Victinis, but we do want to make sure that we can get Victini going, and we want to get it going early, so that's why we're opting for 2. We have 5 Psychic Energies, obviously just to get Mewtwo happy, but also so that our Mewtwo EX's attack could go off, his damage change could go off pretty reliably. And, of course, it's also for Sableye. We got 4 Fighting Energy. That is just enough that we can get 2 Mega Mewtwo's powered, ready to attack simultaneously if we needed to, though I usually found 1 was quite enough because he's very bulky with 230 anyway. And last but not least, we're running 2 double colorless energies because Victini kind of likes double colorless energy, and this can be useful for Shaman as well, and I liked having that option if needs be. But the 1 Mega Mewtwo Y just really profits from this card as well. And if you do ever get slapped to the head ringer, this can be a great way to pay for that 4th energy in Mega Mewtwo X's attack and pick up that head ringer energy all at the same time so that you can still swing and not have to wait an extra turn worth of energy attachment. So it's a nice addition for that reason. And that is the deck. The only changes I would make after having played it through a whole tournament is maybe include a switch or 2, not necessarily an escape rope. But yeah, I found myself, status was a little challenging, but really not super bad because a lot of decks in Expanded don't rely too heavily on status anyway, except Poison, which is kind of doesn't matter because we're hitting hard enough that it doesn't really matter. So anyway, that's the deck. It's really effective. It's a lot of fun, and people don't expect it, which is always an advantage. So anyway, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Twitter. Link is below, and I will see you next time.